Howdy y'all, I am Ice Gold, and today I'm going to be making a AoE spells tier list for, PvE and all that, because AoEs aren't really used in PvP. So this isn't going to have the Wallaru spells. I should mention that really quickly. This template that I found was last modified on the 7th of November 2021. So yeah, it's not going to have the Wallaru spells, but that, like, you can see the tiers here. We've got the banger tier, deck must have, situational, okay, and meh. All of the Wallaru spells are going into a deck must have. That's all I'm going to say on that. I wish they were here, but, all of them would end up in here. All 7 of them would end up in deck must have. So that's just my take on things. So to start things off, we have the Dragoon AoE Avenging Fossil. I'm going to put this in the okay tier. It does good damage for what it is, but it's like, at that point, why not just use Ship of Fools, right? So, I don't know, man. It's okay. It does take a while to cast, but yeah, there's better AoEs that exist, and especially now with Wabagong Frenzy, which is in the deck must have. It's like this is kind of cast aside, so Avenging Fossil will end up in the okay tier. It does good damage, but just not viable anymore. For the real Avenging Fossil, hold on, let me add a row below, and Avenging Fossil. Okay, so this is without a doubt, this is like the worst AoE on this entire tier list, and I haven't even looked at all the spells just yet. So Avenging Fossil, it gets its own tier below everything else because it is just it's just not good. I mean, the damage to the single target is bad, and then it's a dot that only does 260 damage, and it eats half an enchant. This spell is just not good at all. So yeah, it's going in the Avenging Fossil tier. For the Dragoon AoE Basilisk, I will put that in okay as well, for the same reasons that Avenging Fossil is there. It's good for what it is, but Drop Air Fury is just better with it. So yeah. And then, okay, so Call of Curlew. It's been nerfed a lot. I'm gonna put it in situational. Because before, like, AoE drains just in general almost always are going to go in the banger tier, but Curlew, it doesn't do half to health anymore. It does 40%. So yeah, I'm going to leave this in the situational tier just because the damage is kind of meat and the drain is meat as well. So like meat compared to all the other drains. So situational is where it will go. For Chimera, the Dragoon AoE Chimera, I will go ahead and put this in the okay tier. I'll go ahead and order them, to be honest. That's just a decision I've just decided to make. So Chimera, I will put this at the top of the okay tier just for right now. I'm sure this Fire Dragon will be up there shortly, but this, I like it. Because it's also faster than the other Dragoon AoEs, but it does good damage for what it is. It's way better than Sandstorm, and yeah, it's you can use this from level 130 to like 160 or wherever you get Rainbow Serpent, but for now I'll leave Chimera at the top of the okay tier. Climaclysm, I'll put this in meh. It's going to be the same with all of the Mirage Divide spells. This is just, it's not great. It already does bad damage, and the Divide mechanic is just not great. So, Climaclysm will go in meh. For Ratatoskr Spin, if Zan the Bandit wasn't a thing, I would put this in a deck must-have, but since it is a thing, I am going to put Rat Spin in situational. So, yeah, I mean, it's good before you get Zan the Bandit, but I don't even like situational here. I think I might add another tier at a row above, and then just say like better spells exist. Yeah, and then I'll move that up there. So yeah, that's just what I'll do for that. So for Earthquake, Situational, it's like the damage is meat, but the utility is why everybody uses it. So yeah, I'll leave it in Situational, just because, you know, sometimes you might need to clear a bunch of shields and blades and all that from an opponent. So I'll put it in Situational. For Fire Dragon, this is definitely a banger, like without a doubt. This is like, it just does so much damage. This is the strongest 7-pip AoE out of the 7, and I mean you can see why. This does practically 1,000 damage. I think it's 975 or something. So that's gonna go in banger for sure. For Forest Lord, also in banger, just because it just does so much without a shadow of a doubt. For Blizzard, I'll put this in better spells exist, just because, you know, it's good in the early game, but as you go along, you know, like Reindeer Knight, I'm sure, is on here somewhere. So better spells exist. That's kind of what I'm going to say with that. For Frost Giant, this spell, for those unaware, is actually getting buffed in the update. So I will be putting this in deck must-have. This is definitely a good spell to have, but, you know, you can still probably get more value out of Count Crocula into Blizzard, for example. So I'll just go ahead and throw Frost Giant into a deck must-have. So it's good for what it's gonna be. It'll be doing 615 ice damage with the stun for 1 turn at the max spell limits here after the spring update drops. So it's good for that reason, but you know, I can't put it in the banger tier because it's still the weakest out of the 7 pips. So tough, I guess. Glowbug Squall, banger, like without a doubt. It does 1040 now as opposed to 940 that it says here, and it's a banger. I mean, the Shad AoEs, especially the Darkmoor ones, are honestly pretty great, with the exception of Kurlu. I mean, Kurlu used to be great, but, you know, Glowbug Squall is still great. Iron Sultan, it's going to go at the top of the meta tier just because it does so much more damage than the others, so for sure. And then Iron Curse is going to go in the Avenging Fossil tier, and it's just going to, you know. And then for Ice Wyvern, I'll put it above Avenging Fossil in the OK tier because it does do good damage, but it's like, it is better than a spell like Blizzard, for example. And then it's like with Avenging Fossil, like Ship of Fools. you just use that instead, so that's way more value. Squall Wyvern, I'll put it above Chimera in the OK tier just because of the sheer amount of damage that it does for 4 pips. Like, that is honestly pretty nuts. I'll say that. So yeah, Squall will go in the OK tier. Lamasu, I'll just put it in the mid tier, maybe above Climaclysm, just because for like a little while there, it is life's best Shad AoE, or AoE in quotations, I guess, and you'll see why later, of course. So Deer Knight, better spells exist, but this is definitely still a very solid hit to have. It's a neat little AoE over time, so I rock with it. Mystic Colossus, I'll put it in Situational because, you know, sometimes you might want to use it just because, like, if you're against like an ice boss or something that likes to use tower shields or something like that, you can go ahead and toss that out, and it'll pierce the shield for a bit less damage than Orthros does, which is kind of rough, but hey, you know, it was what it was there. Sandstorm will be going in better spells exist. It is a good spell, and it's good in the early game, but better spells do exist, like, you know, Rainbow Serpent and all that. So Nested Fury, this one is going in banger. Like, it can hit for more than Glowbugs, like, as a balance. That is kind of crazy, and this is just, I want to say this is Balance's best AoE, just period. Power Nova is coming up pretty soon, but Nested, I want to say, is the best. And when I eventually quest my Balance to max, this is going to be a staple in the deck. So, definitely going to be putting that in the banger tier. Alongside Orthrus in the banger tier. And for Orthrus, I'll go ahead and put that just right under Fire Dragon, just because it's like this. This is every PvE player's wet dream. This is a pure damage AoE spell. So it's not hard to see why this is in the banger tier. Fire Dragon, as great as it is, it falls a little short because half of the enchant gets eaten by the overtime. But with Orthrus, yeah, that is a 1,000 base damage hit. So yeah, Orthrus is definitely going to be in the banger tier. And so is Power Nova. Power Nova is definitely going to be up there as well. Maybe a little further down. It's like it does really great damage. that's really the reason why. So yeah, I might actually move Forest Lord down a couple, just to be more in line with that. It's like these two are staples for every life and balance wizard, same as these two up here for Fire and Myth. So yeah, Power Nova is sort of Balance's main PvE spell while questing. It's a quick little round 2 hit, so it's real great. Kisma, gonna go in the meta tier, above the Life and Ice ones just because of damage. Ra, man, this is probably gonna end up at the bottom of the meta tier. It's like I was gonna set this one aside for just the Mirage spells, but Ra, it's like it doesn't even belong in the OK tier, let's be real. For Raging Bull, just because Blast Off is horrible, and I realize Blast Off is not actually here. What are we doing, chat? Yeah, I'm gonna have to go in Photoshop after this and just put in everything else. So yeah, Raging Bull, I'll go ahead and toss that into deck must have. It's a real good round 2 like Shad AoE if you can get a Shad on round 2. It doesn't have like a condition where it eats half the enchant, so it's good. It's definitely a good spell. Would recommend keeping that if you are a fire. For Rain of Fire, I am going to put this in situational. No, I'm not. I'm going to put this in the OK tier. It does decent damage, I'll say that much, but it's like if you're trying to use like a big AoE overtime, there's not really that many situations that call for that. And then we've got Scald coming up soon, which, you know, you'll see where I put that, so go crazy. For Reindeer Knight, I'm going to put this in Better Spells Exist for the same reasons that Deer Knight is here. It's just that better spells exist. That's really about it. Count Crocula does outclass this to a degree. So yeah, Reindeer Knight will go in there. Sandworm, gonna go in the meta tier alongside Kisma. And then Scald, this is undoubtedly a banger. This is actually going to be at the top of the banger tier just because of what you can do with Scald Incendiate. So yeah, would recommend here. Scarecrow, also in the banger tier. I'm actually going to move Fire Dragon down one because of that. It's an AoE terrain, so, you know, it pops off. So, definitely going in the banger tier. It does good damage, solid drain, and it doesn't cost a Shad, which is part of why Krulu is down here in Situational. Scorching Scimitars, this will go in the meta tier, just like all the other Divide spells. Ship of Fools, I'm going to call that a banger, just because it's another AoE drain that is super cheap to use. Better spells do exist, but it's like, if you want to use Wobbegong Frenzy for damage, you can do that. But if you want to use Ship of Fools for some health back on the first turn, go for that as well. Meteor Strike, you're starting to see a pattern. Better spells just exist. So, yeah, Meteor Strike is going to end up there. Sirens, I'm going to put that in Better Spells Exist as well. It's This is honestly one that I think is viable if you are like still questing in the second arc, maybe third arc too, somewhere in there. It's like it's stronger than Stormlord, that is for sure. But it also costs 2 more pips, so it's like if you're trying to hit quicker with a Stormlord, then that's obviously gonna satisfy you. But Sirens is just more of a boss killer type of spell. It's better against bosses. But you know, in the third arc, by that point, you just send glow bugs, so go crazy. For snack attack, personally, I like this. I'm gonna put this in deck must-have. This is my go-to shad spell when I am questing on my death. I have it upgraded to the 7-pip version, so yeah, it's a deck must-have, I would say. Snake Charmer, definitely going to go in the meta tier, just like all the others, and I think that's the last Mirage spell, so how about that? For Situational, that's where I'm going to put Snow Angel. It's sort of the same deal as Rain of Fire, but where Fire has Scald that they can use over Rain of Fire, Ice doesn't really have another great AoE dot. And, I mean, those of you who watch my budget walkthrough series will know what I've been up to with this. So, yeah, I'll put it in the situational tier just because there are some situations where an Ice might want to use it. You know, like detonating it with a troll, that type of deal. Snowball Barrage, this is a banger. Without a shadow of a doubt, this is a banger. This is arguably Ice's best AoE spell. I'm going to need to find a place to put Freeze Ray. So yeah. Anyway, Snowball Barrage, that's definitely a banger. Sound of Musicology, I'll put that in deck must-have. I personally like to use the 7-pip version. It hits harder than Glowbugs, so, you know, and you can follow up with another hit with the 45 blade that it actually gives you. So, would recommend packing this if you are a Storm. For Pigsy, banger, without a doubt. It's going to be lower down on the list, but Pigsy is absolutely a banger of a heal. If you are playing, you know, like a life healer, definitely really, really great card to have, especially because it's been buffed. I'm pretty sure it's 750 base now, which is kind of wild. So, yeah, I'm going to put that in the banger tier up there. Rebirth. New Rebirth, I believe, belongs to the banger tier. I'm going to say that. New Rebirth definitely belongs in the banger tier. Because even though it's like you lose a little bit of value as you divide it, yeah, you know, it's the only path B that I would recommend carrying. Because it's like, it's not, it is an AoE, but it also isn't. It's selective target. But if you're solo questing as a life, this is definitely a solid card to have if you are going for heals. For Sprite Swarm, I don't know. I'll give that to the okay tier, I guess. It's a decent little heal over time, but it's not that great. But it's okay. You know, it's cheap to use. So, Unicorn, better spells exist. Like Pigsy. Pigsy is leagues better than that. Spinosaur, this is going to go below everything else just because of, you know, Ratspin's existence. Like, Ratspin is just literally better than Spinosaur with an epic enchant. So, yeah. And then Fire Dragon, this Dragoon AoE I will put in the OK tier as well. Stormlord is going to go in the banger tier. Even though it's still got that little stun attached that reduces its damage, still a banger, without a shadow of a doubt. This is a staple card to have on a Storm. For Sun Serpent, I'll put Sun Serpent in situational because this, when I was on my fire in, you know, Azteca Chrysalis, that type of deal, this was my go-to for boss fights because I could use, you know, the initial hit that does mass. I could use that on the boss, and then the overtime on the back end would kill the minion with ease because 330 is still pretty solid damage. And it could also clean up the boss if the initial hit didn't kill. So that's pretty neat. And then for Tempest, it is a banger, but I think it's going to end up at the bottom of the banger tier. That's just where I'm going to put that. So for Tatzelworm Terror, I'm going to put this in deck must-have. This is my go-to shad spell to use on my Myth. I've got it upgraded to the 7-pip version, and, you know, it's really, really good. It does... It has a chance to do less than Orthros, I'm not going to lie to you, but it has a much larger chance to do more than an Orthros, which is why I use it. So it'll be at the bottom of this tier. So there's that. Younger Frog, better spells exist. Yeah. I'll probably put that there above Sandstorm. And then Wings of Fate will go in the Avenging Fossil tier. So that is going to be the tier list. I am going to finish this up in Photoshop because this is missing all of the Lemuria and Wallaru AoEs. So yeah, I'll pick this back up in Photoshop. Okay, so we're back in Photoshop, and so this is just going to be where I finish up the tier list with all of the AoEs. So for Drop Bear Fury, we're just going to go ahead and put this in the deck must-have. Bunyip's Rage, though, I'm going to put in the banger tier. I wish I could switch around the order of some of these, but I don't think I can anymore now that I'm in Photoshop and all that. Old One's Endgame, better spells exist. I'm going to keep it a whole stack. That's just where I'm going to put that. Just because Nested Fury is so good. And then half of the enchant on Old One's Endgame gets eaten by the 5-round deferred dot that for some reason got added to the spell over the Prison Blade. Couldn't tell you why. For Phantasmania, obviously going to go there. Count Crocula, obviously going to go there. Zand, of course. And then Rainbow Serpent and Wabagong Frenzy. So that's going to work out the deck must-have tier. Blast Off undoubtedly goes in the Avenging Fossil tier. This is awful. Like, without a shadow of a doubt, this is terrible. I have never seen a Fire Wizard ever use this spell. That is how bad it is. So, Avenging Fossil tier is where it shall go. Below Wings of Fate, even. For Freeze Ray, that's going to be a banger with ease. I mean, it's like Ice's shad spells. It's like, to KI's credit, they have given us some really, really great shadow hits. So Freeze Ray is going to go in the banger tier for that reason. And then Lord of the Jungle. Man, Lord of the Jungle is a weird one because it's like, it's life's best shad AoE, but you can't like use it round 2. I don't know. I'm going to put it in the banger tier just because it's like if you're in a boss battle, Lord of the Jungle should be your go-to because it just does mass. It's like no matter what pip cost you have it upgraded to, Lord of the Jungle does just absolutely mass. So that is going to finish up this tier list at long last. This is just my opinion, you know. Agree, disagree, do what you want. Freak on channel. So this is, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of bangers when it comes to these AoE spells. Banger is the like most filled tier by far. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 banger AoE spells. And then coming in at a close second is deck must have, or like vaguely close second with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 spells. Most of this I can attribute to just 6 of the 7 Wallaru spells being there. So, you know, but they are deck must haves. These are, it's like before I would have said a bunch of the spells from here would go into deck must have, but now that the Wallaru spells are out, these are the new deck must haves. So 10 out of 10 would recommend all of those. And then better spells exist. It's like, these are spells, it's like I was saying, you know, it's like Deer Knight, Meteor Strike, Rat Spin, Humunga Frog, all of these spells Like they used to be good a while ago, but then new spells just got added and knocked them down a tier. So tough, I guess. For the situational tier, this is, I mean, outside of Avenging Fossil, this is the least populated tier. But there are definitely some, it's like all 5 of these spells, they have their uses. It's like, I remember when Faeriequeens was doing Hall of Heroes solo on his death, like Kurlu was really important. So it's like just for survivability and all that. And then, you know, Earthquake, obviously it's good for taking away shields and blades if you're against like a boss that spams them, for example, or has like a cheat for it. And then Mystic Colossus is also really, really great if, you know, like the boss keeps shielding the round you hit, that type of deal. And then Snow Angel, obviously, you know, ice AoE overtime. I like it just because you can like detonate it and it'll actually do mass. So, and then Sun Serpent, obviously, for, you know, attacking a boss. It's like this is the ultimate boss killer spell right there. So for the OK tier, we've got all the Dragoon AoEs, plus, you know, Rain of Fire and Sprite Swarm. For the meta tier, we have all 7 Mirage spells and Ra, because Ra is just, it's meh now. It's like Power Nova just outclasses it, and yeah, you'll never need to do meat damage for putting a 40 weakness on the entire enemy team. So yeah, and then I made a new tier just for Avenging Fossil, but 3 other spells made their way in there too. So yeah, that is going to wrap up. Thank y'all for watching. I've been Ice Gold. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave like 50 comments for the algorithm. My Discord is down in the description if you want to chat with me some more. And I will see y'all later.